allowing me to share with you over 100 episodes of this podcast, a podcast that was started by me, a grieving father that wanted a way to be able to share my story in a way that was very much unedited, uncut, and straight to you from the source, and what I like to call anti-social media. I like to call what I do here something that is completely uncensored and allows you to speak the absolute truth. And sometimes that means using bad words. Sometimes that means offending people. Sometimes that means distancing yourself from people that don't understand exactly what you're feeling. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to do that, because when I started this podcast, number one, I was told the only way that I could do it was if I had the absolute time, because I was already so busy with my other job and then with the nonprofit that we run as well. But when I had that opportunity, I took it. And the very first episode I did was me sitting in front of my computer camera, giving you a rundown of how I felt as a dad going through this. Because honestly, there's not a whole lot of dads that are on the front lines of pediatric cancer advocacy. You see a lot of moms, and there's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely praise all of the moms and the dads that choose to go out and advocate for their kids, but you just don't see a lot of fathers out there. And on a side note, I'd love for you to check out my other podcast, Voices from the Background, with my very good friend Brian. We talk about it from a dad's perspective, 100%. What we see, what we feel, every topic from our eyes, from our view. So please check that out on anywhere you could find a podcast. It's there. So thank you. And now back on track here. I started at being able to do that, share my own story. And after a while, I shared it myself. I had my daughter on, my wife and I were on and did some episodes together. And then it became apparent that I had so much more. I had so many more people within the community that needed the opportunity to share their story outside of social media. And that's what I did. So for the last almost 80 episodes, I sat here and I had a guest with me, and they talked about their story from a personal point of view as a parent, from a personal point of view as a survivor, from a personal point of view as a medical professional, both from child life, doctors, researchers. I've had everybody along those lines on this podcast, and I love every single minute of it because it has given you an insight that absolutely defies everything that you've ever seen on a commercial. This community is absolutely anti-commercial. We're anti all of that because we don't see things from the lens of what they want to show you on TV. Because let's be completely honest, if they showed what they wanted to show you, or what we wanted to show you rather, on TV, which is the absolute bad side of pediatric cancer, which there is no good side. If I had to find a good side on another side note, it's being blessed with meeting so many incredible people and so many incredible families. But that's the blessing. That's the good part. If you have to find a silver lining. But the reality of it is pediatric cancer it's gross, it's scary, it's nasty. There's blood involved. There's sick children, there's scars, there's wounds, there's fear. It's not a topic that anybody wants to talk about. And unfortunately, because of that, all of that negative energy around it, we don't get the true image of what pediatric cancer is. And I think that gives us a horrible roadblock that it is very hard to get past because we spend so much time only seeing what we're force-fed that we don't get the opportunity to see what is going on for real. And unfortunately, what that does is that stops the support, that stops the donations, that stops the research, that stops the necessity of our government to give a shit about what we're doing here in this community because they're force-fed the same thing that we're force-fed, that everything's okay, that it's under control, that the cure rates are going up, that the research is getting better, that we're coming up with new drugs, new trials, new cocktails of clinical trials, all of these things. We're coming up with all of that. So therefore, we don't need to really focus any efforts because they're figuring it out. The reality of all of it and the reality of this community and the reality of this disease, it is not getting better. If anything, it is getting worse. And we've seen over the years, our daughter, JC, was diagnosed with choroid plexus carcinoma, a rare form of brain cancer that you will only hear me say rare in that sense. And I'll get to more of that later, on January 30th of 2020. Also right in the heart of COVID times. So when she was diagnosed with that disease, and we were sitting in the doctor's in the waiting room as she was receiving her third brain surgery, actually, we were told by the oncologist, this is what it is, and the prognosis is not good. That's what we were told to our, at that point, our 6-year-old daughter. And the immediate response was to start researching, trying to figure it out, finding out that there's only 30 or less children a year that are diagnosed with this type of brain cancer in the U.S. There are no current protocols. There's no current research or clinical trials or understanding as to how to fix this problem. And we were at a loss. We had nowhere to turn. We had nobody to ask. The resources that we have now, 5 years later, are way more advanced than what we had when she was diagnosed. There's still a long way to go, but we're definitely on the right path to having the resources, at least for us to ask questions as parents. And that's one thing that has been a goal for us with our nonprofit, Battlecorn Global, aka Battlecorn Care Packages, is that one of our biggest missions is also to become a resource of knowledge, to a resource of contacts for who you need to talk to about what you need to talk to them about, and ensure that you're pointed in the right direction. I do get a lot of parents. We get parents that will ask us questions, ask us advice. And listen, we don't know everything. We know what our experience was. And if we don't know what it is, I promise you, I know who to point you to get you that information. And that is such a good feeling because, again, when she was diagnosed in January of 2020, we had nothing. We had nobody, no resources, no safety net, no network of people, no friends that understood. We had nothing. I take that back. I had one friend that I went to high school with that his son had a brain tumor. And so we had that connection, but that was literally it. And you're forced into a situation in diagnosis and in treatments and all these decisions when it comes to, you got to sign this document and hope to God that it works. You're forced into these situations with zero time to think about it, zero time to process, zero time to really do your research. But in the sense, you're doing it. I can promise you. Every parent that I've ever talked to, ourselves included, you do the research. You take the time out of your day because you become the caregiver. You become the doctor. You become the administrator of drugs, of treatments. You become that advocate. You become so much. And you take that time and you find those answers because nobody's going to offer them up to you. You're going to have to search for them. And hopefully one day that will be in a better position where we don't have to worry so much about whether or not we're going to get those answers, whether or not we're going to get that help. We're hoping that the network is continuing to grow. When she was diagnosed, we were in shock, completely in shock, and not knowing exactly what the future was going to hold. We had no idea. My wife and I are the same age minus a year. She's a year younger than I am. And we spent our whole lives watching the commercial. Everybody knows what the commercial is. Everybody knows that commercial. We spent our whole lives watching it on TV and not thinking, I think, really kind of looking past it. I think a lot of people just look past it. They don't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. They have the thought process of, God, that's terrible. I hope that never happens to me. I hope I'm never in that position. What would I do? I don't know what I would do. And listen, we all felt that way. And you're not a bad person for feeling that way. You're not a bad person for changing the channel because it's sad. But at the same time, I've watched, and my wife, and we've watched that commercial, that marketing evolve over time. And as it has evolved over time, you see a lot of happiness and you see a lot of smiles. And yes, are there times throughout this treatment, and I have said it time and time again, that the one thing that cancer does not do, it does not take the soul of the child. It does not take the attitude. It doesn't take their personality. It doesn't. But it does kick them. It does kick them and push them in the dirt, and it runs all over them, and it turns them into, why me? But, you don't get a lot of complaining. But those smiles a lot of times are few and far between. Those smiles are very hard to come by because your child is fighting. Your child is in pain. Your child is going through the worst thing in their life when they're just supposed to be outside, making mistakes, having fun with their friends, talking to their neighbors, riding their bikes to school, having snowball fights like right now in the wintertime. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be worrying about their next chemo treatment or the next surgery that they're going to have, or why their hair's falling out, why they can't taste the same way that they used to. They're not supposed to worry about that stuff. And unfortunately, to me, what that marketing does, and to anybody out there that has been to this particular hospital, I'm not going to say the name, I'm not going to do that, but you obviously know who I'm talking about. If you've been there, you've been treated there, you've had good luck there, good on you. This is not an attack on you. This is not an attack on your family. This is not an attack on the community. This is me just stating how I feel. Okay? And every couple of years, this argument tends to go online, go on social media, and it takes on a whole new life and not a very good image. Okay? It takes on a whole new breed of kind of infighting amongst the community. And I don't want that. That's not what we want. But we should be able to have our own opinions about things, and that's one of them, okay? When we see those commercials, this is the way that I see the commercial, and that's the only part I'm going to talk about, okay? When we see that, it looks like everything's okay. It looks like everything is fine. It looks like things are under control. And then also high cure rates are touted. When you see that, it looks like everything's okay. That is not what we need in this community. We can be talking about how they have high success rates with their clinical trials, high success rates with acceptance of patients that then go through the trials and the drug treatments and all of that they have amongst them. That's great. We can talk about whatever research has come out of there that you can then transfer on and you can spread amongst the community and you can share so that other children outside of your service area can actually be treated with the same type of research that people that live near you are able to do. That's all well and good. But the reality of it is, like I was saying, it's not the correct image of pediatric cancer. And like I said, growing up, you watch this commercial, you watch it, you listen to it. You really don't put a whole lot of effort into really kind of retaining it, but you see it every day now, 40, 50 times a day, whatever TV show you're watching, you'll see the commercials. And I look at it and I look up at that screen and I say, that's not right. That didn't happen. That's not right. And I'm not saying that they're lying. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is in our personal experience, okay? In our personal experience, having JC go through COVID testing, everybody did it, okay? Everybody had to go through it, but having her go through it in the most traumatic experience I've ever seen, having her have to go through surgeries and having those surgeries cause brain bleeds that end up causing other problems down the line, seizures and damn near comatose states, having to watch her go through chemo treatments that put her in a locked in the box situation for 12 hours. 12 hours where she can't respond. All she can do is move her eyes around and be scared because she can't communicate with you the way that she wants to. And you can't understand what's going on. The most fear I've ever seen in a child in my life. And that was one of those times. That's the reality of pediatric cancer. And that's what this podcast was supposed to do. Not only share my own personal views and my own personal insight, because I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it from diagnosis, I've seen the treatments, I've seen the surgeries, and I've seen the unfortunate last seconds and last moments of my daughter's life. And to watch that continue to happen over and over again, to watch our community continue to fade away, losing new children, new faces that we've met, that we've come into contact with, I've had them on the podcast, that we meet at CureFest, that we meet at our events that we host, just general social media contacts, seeing these parents continue to lose their child, their children, and can see these children continue to lose their battle, is showing us every single day that what we see on TV is bullshit. And I'm sorry, but I'm not at the same time. What we see on TV is bullshit. Because all that does is that gives everybody out there false hope. And it also gives a false pretense to the people that are in Congress right now, both sides, that are telling you that everything's okay so they don't need to allocate more funding, to telling you that everything is just fine because look what they're doing. I will forever say that the way that you portray something on TV where a million, billion people can see it is going to change the course of everything. And I'll be completely honest with you. The commercials that show the dogs that are in cages, that are outside chained to the ground, that are that are wasting away, that are emaciated. That's the direction, unfortunately, of the commercials that we need for our kids. Not because we want people to see those images that we all have. We all have on our phones. We all have ingrained in our memories from watching our child go through these things, but because that's the reality. Because that's the reality shock that people need to understand exactly what these kids go through every single day. We need that. And when I started this podcast and started not only telling my own story from a father's perspective and also from with my wife to tell from her perspective, but also my daughter, because it is a family diagnosis. And then when I started having guests come on and you see all of these stories for all of my guests, I encourage you, I really do, to go back and listen to my episodes all the way from the beginning. And listen to how the stories line up. Listen to how diagnosis lines up, symptoms line up, the treatments, the protocols, the conversations with medical professionals. Listen to how it all lines up. And then tell me that we've got this under control. Because unfortunately, we don't. We don't have it under control. If anything, we're losing control of it. If anything, we are falling backwards. And that's the last thing that we need to do right now. The one thing we need to do is get on track and get everybody on the same page to ensure that more and more podcasts like this don't have to be started, that more and more advocates don't have to be out there because they're losing their kids or because their kids are being diagnosed and they're being diagnosed younger and younger, and it's taking longer to figure out what's going on, and we don't have the protocols and the treatments. We don't have any of that. And I'm going to be the first one to say this, and if it's controversial, you know what? That's what strikes conversation. Where we are now has nothing to do with one person. And I'll let everybody figure that part out. But where we are now in this community and with research and with funding and all of that has nothing to do with one person. It is all people. It is everybody right now that sits in elected offices, every single one, from your mayor to your governor to your elected senators to your elected congressmen and women to the president. And I mean all of them, not current, not past, not future, all. Every single one of them is responsible for where we are right now. And I mean both sides as well. And I'm putting that out there because there's a lot of controversy surrounding who's really responsible. Well, we can find a way to place blame on Democrats and Republicans. We can find a way to place blame on Donald Trump, on Joe Biden, on Barack Obama, on Hillary Clinton, on Kamala Harris, whatever, whoever you want to throw in there, we can find a way to place blame on them for where we are right now with pediatric cancer research, pediatric cancer funding, and pediatric cancer advancements. We can find a way to place blame on every single one of them. But I'm not going to do that because I think everybody involved is to blame for all of this because you've let it go for so long and not allowed more to be directed towards the only future that this country has, this world has, is our kids. And I think that's one of the most frustrating things for me is getting up every single day, knowing I don't have my daughter here with me anymore, knowing right behind me, she's staring out that window, looking at stars. And that picture back there says they deserve more than 4. Staring out that window, but now there's nobody in front of that window. Now we don't have her here for our holidays, to watch her sisters go to college, to watch them accomplish everything that they were supposed to accomplish as a trio. And she loved her sisters. She loved them so much, and they loved her. And the way they carry on their lives now, keeping her alive with them, is incredible. But that also should not be the job of a child, to carry on the legacy of your sibling that passed away because people didn't care enough. Now, I think it's easy every single month to write a check to a charity. I think it's easy every single month to write a check just out of it makes you feel good about yourself or because you need a tax write-off. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me why you do it. If the money gets to where it needs to go, I don't care. But I will say this. You have to understand and research where that money goes, and you have to make sure that it's going to the best place possible. And I will never tell you not to donate to something. Donate where you want your money to go, but make sure that money's going to the right place. Make sure that it's getting to the researchers, that it's getting to the scientists, that it's getting to the people that need it to ensure that the doctors have a toolbox that has the right tools in it to treat your child. The only thing universal about healthcare that I think we should have is I think a universal database for every single oncologist across this nation, every single oncologist, and across the world as far as I'm concerned. Every pediatric oncologist should have access to every other pediatric oncologist discoveries, their treatment protocols, their successes, their failures, their notes, everything. They should have access to it. Because why not? Why would you not want that? Why would you want all of your research, all of your discoveries, all of your anything coming out of one place? Why wouldn't you want it coming from all over the world? Because there are smart, intelligent people all over this country and all over this world, all over this planet. There are smart, intelligent people that are coming up with things every single day. And we should be able to reach out to them, and we should be able to see what they're doing and hopefully take what they've learned amongst their trials, their research, their understanding, their communications with families, their communications with other hospitals, all of that. And we should be able to utilize that to better treat our patients and give them a better chance at life. My daughter deserved to be here. She deserved to live past the age of 8. My daughter deserved to grow up and be a nurse like she wanted to be. My daughter deserved to grow up, drive a car, go to high school, have a boyfriend, get a job, go to college. She deserved to grow up and make mistakes. She deserved to grow up and do everything that she had dreamed of. But most of all, JC deserved to grow up. And unfortunately, she never had that opportunity. But I will tell you this, she didn't complain. She didn't complain. She didn't complain when her hair fell out. She didn't complain when we told her, you'll never have kids of your own. She didn't complain when she lost her hearing in one ear. She didn't complain when she lost tons of weight because of what the treatments were doing to her and suppressing her appetite. She made the best of every situation. She made the best of her time home. She made the best in her role with Battlecorn. She made the best as a baby sister. And sometimes she took advantage of that, but that's okay. She made the best of everything. And these kids, all of these kids, they make the best out of a situation that would floor so many of us. And throughout this entire journey, or shout out to my wife, shit show, pediatric cancer, the one blessing that it has given us is amazing friends. But these aren't the way that you want to start friendships. This isn't the way that you want to meet people. But the people that I have met along the way and that we have met as a family that have stayed with us and stayed true are people that we wouldn't trade for the world. And those connections are going to be forever. And we are forever grateful for them. But unfortunately, far too many of those families also are missing their children. They're missing them around the table. They're missing birthdays, graduations. They're missing their children growing up. You know, I often say that one of the times I knew that I had come to terms with what was happening was when I went to see my oldest daughter perform in the choir in high school. And we all had seats to go, but Jace was too sick. So she stayed home with my wife and my other daughter. And I went and I sat on these bleachers by myself with empty seats next to me. And as I'm watching their performances happen, I knew JC will never do this. She will never graduate high school. She will never have the opportunity to sing in the choir, go to college, and grow up. And I tried not to break down at that moment. I think I did later. But these are the bittersweet moments as a father, as a parent, that you are so happy that your children are going through these incredible milestones. But every single one of them is bittersweet because it's always followed up with, but JC will never do that. And far too many parents in this community have to say that same thing about their kids. Far too many parents have to get up every single day and try to live a semi-normal life without their child there. And somehow have got to give that affection, that respect, that attention to their other children and not let what you have been through overshadow everything that they've accomplished. But it's hard. It is hard because I miss JC terribly. Every single day I miss her. Every single day I'm reminded by signs, by sounds, by sights, by smells, by memories that she's not here. Anytime I've ever gone into her room, which is the way it was when she left, it's heavy. It's a heavy, heavy feeling that I can't explain. You walk in there, and it was such a good thing for her to get, and she was so happy to get it, but it feels like a weight. It feels like 1,000,000 pounds when you walk in there. And I don't have the words for people. When I see other children passing away, I don't have the words to tell their parents. And the only thing I can say is, let us know if you need anything. Because I don't think there are words. I don't think there is things or anything that you can say that are going to take the pain away or going to make it any better. And I know Jace touched so many lives in her short time here. And I know because what was said at her funeral is the one thing that has stuck with me and I think has really been a guiding force in everything that I do and the reason that I get up every day to make sure that her legacy is not forgotten. JC approached those gates of heaven and she said to Jesus, but I only had 8 years. And he grabbed her hand and he looked at her. And he said, but look what you did in those 8 years. She made such an impact on this world. impact that is still yet to be felt to its full extent. I am so proud to be her father. I'm so proud of my other girls for keeping her alive in their memories and everything that they do moving forward. I'm so proud of my wife for sticking with me and standing by my side. And for us doing this together, I'm proud of this community for holding us up when we needed it, continuing to do so, but allowing us to be a part of your journeys and to share your child's story and to keep their legacies alive too. I am never going to give up what I'm doing. I'm never going to stop. I have a lot of points of view that maybe people don't like. I have a very harsh way of going about things. Some might say a bull in a china shop, but that's the way things need to get done. And I know that that's what she would want me to do, is to continue to fight for her, continue to keep JC's legacy alive, and continue to keep Battlecorn's mission on track. Now that has been some very heavy things to speak about, some very tough things that are hard for me to talk about sometimes. But I feel like in this community, this is the best thing. This is my therapy. My therapy is coming on this podcast every single week and talking to other families, talking to medical professionals, to survivors, but also talking about my own story as well, because I think that's the best way that we can advocate, is to never stop talking about it. And that's what this podcast was always meant to be, to share my own views, my own story, my own insights, my own advice, but also to let others do the same thing. Because talking about it, I think, truly is the best medicine. I think talking about it is the best thing that we can do. And the only thing that is going to continue to bring light to these stories and bring light to families that are struggling, especially during the holidays right now, is to talk about it and to not make people feel like an outcast because of what they've been through, to not make people feel like it's unacceptable to talk about their kids, talk about what they went through, to talk about their passing. I've heard before that there's a time limit on grief. That's bullshit. There is no time limit on grief. There's also no right or wrong way to grieve. But at the same time, I want to remind you that my wife and I have 2 other daughters, and ensuring that they still get the love and attention that they deserve, and focused on the love and attention that they may have lost out on while JC was going through treatments, because we focused all of our energy on just trying to get her better. And I know that we neglected them. I know that we didn't give them what they needed. I know that we weren't there for them all the time. They won't tell you that now. They won't admit to that. But I know that we didn't. At least for me, 100%. I was away a lot for treatments with her. And I know that I missed a lot of stuff. We have responsibilities. They need us to be there for them. They need us to ensure they're okay and guide them in the right directions. And they just need us to be there for them. So while there's no right or wrong way to grieve, we can't forget about our other kids, and we can't not give them the attention that they deserve, because we're parents. That's what we do. I've often talked about as well in this space, feeling as though I failed as a father, because especially, and I think this comes with an extra bit of responsibility, because I am a girl father and I am supposed to protect my girls from everything. I am supposed to keep them safe. I'm supposed to make sure that nothing hurts them. And if something does, then I take care of it. This was a situation where we couldn't protect them. We couldn't protect JC. We couldn't protect our families to what this was going to do to them. And I feel like we failed. I feel like I failed. I feel like we could have done more. We could have done more research. We could have done more traveling. We could have done more phone calls, more emails, more research to fix her. But also in my mind, I know that's not true. I know that we did everything that we could. I know that we did everything we possibly could to save her. And in the end, in those final moments, when I looked at JC in her eyes and I asked her if she was okay, she shook her head yes. And when I laid my head on her chest and I felt her heartbeat for the last time, I knew she was at peace. I knew she was safe, and I knew she was no longer suffering. And although the best place in this world I feel like your children should be is with you, I think my wife and I both came to terms understanding that the best place for her was in heaven, where she could be whole again, her long red hair flowing, her beautiful laugh and her beautiful smile, her freckles shining in the sunlight, and rainbows to chase forever. And one day I know that we'll meet her again. One day I know we'll be able to hug her again. But it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any easier to try to cope with this loss. And it doesn't make it any easier every passing day. We are now 4 years without her, and every year gets harder. And a lot of people might think that it gets easier over time or that time heals all. I'm here to tell you, again, that's bullshit. It doesn't get easier. As a matter of fact, it gets harder every year, especially when you have other children. Because like I mentioned earlier, you are now watching them accomplish everything that JC will never get to accomplish. And so every milestone is bittersweet, no matter what. Every milestone is bittersweet. Everything I watch them accomplish is followed up by, I wish JC could have done that. I wish we could have seen her grow up. I wish we could have seen her do all the things that she wanted to do. And everything that her imagination would have allowed her to do, we could have been there to support. We could have been right there with her. But this disease took everything from us. It took everything. And a part of us died on July 3rd, 2021 at 4:15 a.m. A part of this family died, but her soul is still with us. Her memory is here. Her things are here, and we feel her all the time. So the one thing I will tell you is, even though they're not here with you physically, they are here. And I will say this to you, Jace, Mom and Dad, Annalisa and Miley, we love you. We miss you. And we know that you are the most beautiful angel that heaven has ever seen. And we know one day that we will meet you again. But until then, never stop letting us know that you're here. Keep chasing those rainbows. We love you. Now, this has been just a little bit of a reflection podcast. I know some things get heavy, but this is a side of pediatric cancer that you don't see, you don't hear about. The news stories don't cover. It's too gruesome. It's too scary. It's too real. But guess what? That's what it is. And we don't get to shut that off. We don't get to stop it. We don't get to clock out at the end of the day. We're here, and unfortunately, this is our life. And this is what we do every single day. So I want to thank you. I hope you all stayed till the end. I apologize for, you know what? No, I don't. I don't apologize for it, because this is reality. This is what we go through every single day. And the happy, smiling faces you see us put on the outside are not what we're feeling on the inside. We are the absolute best in this community at putting up a wall, at showing you only what we want you to see. And we never want you to see us break. But at the same time, if you saw us break, maybe you'd listen a little bit more. So again, I want to thank you all for sticking with me to the end. I hope you did. I hope you will tell your friends and your neighbors and your coworkers about this podcast. I hope you will bring them over and let them listen to these stories. Let them follow along and understand the true realities of pediatric cancer. I hope that they will take on a new level of researching where their donations go every single month, every year. I hope you will research the organizations that I've had on this podcast. They're all linked in the descriptions of every episode. I hope you'll reach out to me if you have questions at ccperspectivepod@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook, as well as all of my other social media for Battlecorn. You can find that on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. All of that will be linked in the description. I want to thank you all again for giving me the opportunity to come into your homes every single week, to come into your headphones as you're running, jogging, or just doing things around the house. I want to thank you all for continuing to support this podcast. Over 100 episodes. Thank you so much for allowing me to get to that point. I promise you the next 100 episodes are going to be even better as I get more and more guests from around the country to come on and share their stories and give you, if you are a pediatric cancer family right now, if you are a pediatric cancer advocate, if you are a survivor, I hope that these stories will give you a relatable experience to other people across the country that you can then reach out to and help this network grow. Because although I don't want this community to grow anymore, because that means more diagnosis, what I want it to do is I want the network to grow, because when that network grows, that means level of support, the understanding, the research, that means the donations, that means all of that goes across the community. And the reality of it is, we are one genius away from beating this thing. And I hope that this podcast can bring that genius out and direct them where they need to go to create that discovery that puts so many parents at ease and gives children a future, which is what we want. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I appreciate it. My advice for the end of the episode, you know that I always ask my guests to give advice at the end of the episode to listeners out there, to give their best advice as a parent, as an advocate, as a medical professional. I'm going to give you my advice as a dad. To all the dads out there, to all the dads listening, to all the dads doing heavy lifting behind the scenes and looking for no recognition, staying out of the spotlight, and just being amazing people for your families. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do every single day. Thank you for never asking for recognition. Thank you for never asking for anything in return. except the health of your child and the strength of your family. But also, don't be afraid to come forward. Don't be afraid to tell your story and to speak out, because you have support. You have an entire community of support that will stand next to you and watch you speak and listen to you speak and cheer you on and hold your hand, will give you a hug, a fist bump, will grab a beer afterwards, whatever you need. We're here for you. So thank you guys so much. Please reach out. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, ccperspectivepod@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. Just do a search, or you can contact me through the podcast sites, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, anything out there. If you want to get in touch with me, let's get you on the podcast. Let's tell your story. So thank you guys for spending over 100 episodes with me. Thank you for sitting here and listening to me go through this reflection episode. I can't wait to bring you the next episodes for the rest of the year and start out 2026 with a bang. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you all in the next one.